Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into a case that started really simply, just a Tinder date, but it became something much darker. A young woman vanished, well, not vanished initially, but died very suspiciously. The question we're digging into based on the sources. She vanished after a Tinder date. Guess who she met?
Right. Our focus today is the really tragic story of Lauren Smith Fields. This happened back on December 11th, 2021 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it's more than just the loss, as awful as that is. The sources really point towards a very perplexing investigation. Lots of questions, inconsistencies.
So Lauren Smith Fields, she was just 23. Sources describe her as, vibrant, really smart, very driven. She was studying cosmetology, had her own beauty business already up and running, big plans. And that night, December 11th, she invited a guy she'd met on Tinder over to her apartment.
Yeah, that man was Matthew LaFountain. He was 37 at the time. The sources describe him as white, quiet, seemed pretty normal on the surface. His story of the night, pretty straightforward, or so he claimed. We'll talk, hobbies, interests, had some wine, watched a movie, maybe a few glasses each, played some games. And then, he says, they just fell asleep. But the next morning, well, that's when he says he found her. Unresponsive, cold, when he tried to wake her up.
And then that's when he called 911. Paramedics came. But it was too late. Lauren Smith Fields was pronounced dead right there at the scene, just gone. A healthy young woman. It's shocking, truly heartbreaking. And then what happens next? Or maybe what doesn't happen. And that's where things get really unsettling.
Let's unpack the police response here, because initially there was a startling lack of it, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. When the police arrived, they barely questioned LaFountain. That's what the sources emphasize. He wasn't really treated like someone who was, the last person to see her alive, not like a suspect.
Not even close, it sounds like. Not at all. What's really fascinating and quite troubling is how dismissive they apparently were towards Lauren's family. Telling them, stop calling, stop bothering them. Even saying LaFountain seemed like a nice guy.
A nice guy.
Yeah. And the failures, the investigative gaps, were pretty significant right from the start. No DNA collected from LaFountain, apparently. Yeah. No search of his phone. He wasn't detained for any real length of time. No polygraph, no deep questioning. He just walked away, free to go.
Wow. So Lauren's family must have been, well, beyond devastated. First the loss, then this kind of indifference. They felt they had to do something themselves, didn't they? And they found things in the apartment.
They did, because they felt completely ignored. They went back into the apartment themselves and found, well, crucial evidence, you'd think. A used condom in the trash bin, a pill is lying there, and a bedsheet with blood on it.
Things you'd expect police to collect immediately, right?
You would absolutely expect that. But according to the sources, these items weren't initially tested. They didn't seem to be a priority for the authorities at all. It really speaks volumes about how, maybe how lightly they were taking this from the get-go.
So the family, seeing this, they pushed for more answers.
They had to. They requested an independent autopsy, paid for it themselves. And the results of that autopsy were deeply disturbing. It found fentanyl, alcohol, hydroxyzine, and promethazine in Lauren's system. A really lethal combination.
Okay, wait. Fentanyl and other drugs, but the official ruling was...
Initially, the official ruling was accidental overdose. And based on that, they actually closed the case. Right. Just like that. No further investigation planned.
But that creates a huge contradiction, doesn't it? Lauren's family was adamant she didn't use drugs, no history of it. And LaFountain's story was, we just drank wine and watched TV.
Exactly. Just wine.
So how does a deadly cocktail like that end up in her system if she doesn't use drugs and they only drank wine? That's the massive question the police didn't seem interested in pursuing initially.
That's precisely the gap the sources point to. How did those substances get there? Why wasn't that discrepancy investigated properly from the start? Investigators just didn't seem to dig into that contradiction, at least not at first. And there's another layer here, something the sources state can't be ignored. Lauren was a young black woman.
And how does that factor in according to the source material?
Well, the sources suggest this is part of a potential pattern. Cases involving black women, especially young black women, sometimes, often, don't receive the same level of urgency or thoroughness from law enforcement initially. There's often this need for significant public pressure just to get the investigation moving properly. Lauren's case seems to fit that heartbreaking narrative. We have to consider if that played a role in the initial dismissal.
And that public pressure definitely came, didn't it? This is where the story really started to gain traction.
Oh, it exploded.
Social media just took off. Hashtag Justice for Lauren was everywhere. Celebrities got involved, activists, everyone demanding answers.
Right. And that outcry, that public pressure, it actually worked. It had a real impact. The sources show how vital that collective voice was. It forced the Bridgeport Police Department to backtrack. They had to publicly admit they messed up the initial investigation. They even ended up suspending the 2 lead detectives on the case, which is, well, it's significant.
A major admission. So what's the latest? Where does the investigation stand now, based on the sources?
Well, in January 2022, so about a month or so after her death, Matthew LaFountain was finally named a person of interest.
Okay, so a person of interest, but
Yeah.
has anything happened since then? Arrests? Charges?
That's the thing. No. Despite being named a person of interest, there hasn't been an arrest. No charges have been filed against him.
So the case is still hanging.
Technically, it's described as open, but it's gone very quiet, almost silent, you could say, which just reinforces that feeling of injustice, of mystery unresolved. Those whispers in the apartment that night. It took a public shout to even get them acknowledged.
Yeah. This deep dive really shows the ongoing struggle for answers, for truth. In Lauren Smithfield's case, a young life just gone. Too soon. Definitely too strangely, and you have to say, too suspiciously. And the last person known to be with her, still walking free today.
It leaves you with a really unsettling feeling, doesn't it? And maybe the thought to leave you with is this. What does it mean when the facts we find, the evidence uncovered, seems to clash so strongly with the official story? How important is it really to keep listening for those quiet whispers, those inconsistencies, especially when it feels like others might want them silenced? It really makes you think about the power of, collective voice, of persistence in demanding accountability, and maybe how far we still need to go.